In New York City's historic South Street Seaport, one block has remained undeveloped for nearly 50 years, with proposals facing rejection again and again.
The site has sat empty, as we all know, for a long time, and people say that's because it wasn't developable.
But in May 2021, the Howard Hughes Corporation received Landmark Preservation Commission approval on their proposal for a 324-foot residential building. The plan still faces city council approval, but it's likely that this will be the development that finally reinvents the block. This is the story behind 250 Water Street. Block 98 sits at the crossroads of the financial district. To the west, you'll find tall residential and commercial buildings as you approach Fulton Center. But to the east, you'll see low-scale brick buildings, remnants from the neighborhood's port origins.
What makes the South Street Seaport precious is that it is a completely unique organism.
In 1977, a 10-block area, which includes the beloved Seaport Museum and Block 98, was designated as a historic district.
The district broadly, specifically through its commercial operations, is intended to support the museum.
During that rezoning process, the city laid out specific rules for air rights transfers that they hoped would ensure that buildings remain low-scale while generating revenue for the Seaport Museum. Certain blocks on the waterfront and in the heart of the district were marked as granting sites, who could transfer air rights to receiving sites on the perimeter of the district. A portion of these sales would, in theory, support the museum. But zoning restrictions can be limiting for residential development, and the financial district has become increasingly popular from a residential standpoint. For housing advocates, the project couldn't come at a better time.
It's in the right in the financial district of Manhattan. It's extremely transit rich, very easy to get to a bunch of well-paying jobs, easy walk over to Fulton Center. It's the perfect place for new housing as we see it.
Undeveloped sites are hard to come by in Manhattan, but conflicting goals of preservation and development have turned 250 Water Street into a tinderbox of controversy.
This is the oldest part of New York City with the most to sort of show us. And then there's families, and there's environmentalists, and there's folks that are supremely opposed to putting more residential units in the highest risk flood zone in New York.
It's this conflict that has been smoldering amongst locals, with friends and neighbors choosing sides as the proposal moves through the ULURP process. One upside is that it will provide not only additional market rate housing, but also affordable units.
The affordable housing in the development is badly needed, as well as the market rate housing. And unfortunately, the neighborhood lost a significant share of previously income restricted housing in the local Southbridge Towers.
The other upside is that the HHC development will support the Seaport Museum through the creation of an endowment.
The premise right from the beginning here has been $50 million for the museum,
which, between the high cost of maintaining the ships and a series of economic blows dealt by 9/11, Superstorm Sandy, and the 2008 financial crisis, has been struggling for years.
To be perfectly clear, this is a make or break moment for the Seaport Museum.
In addition to creating new housing and bankrolling the museum, it will also bring new office space, retail, and a much-needed community center to the district. But the downsides include environmental risks. The site was home to a 19th century thermometer factory, and the soil beneath the parking lot contains mercury. It will require remediation through a brownfield cleanup. This imposes health risks that are further complicated by the fact that it is located across the street from two early education schools. Some local parents feel that the remediation and the construction will be too close for comfort.
Over 7,000 dump trucks of contaminated material will need to be carted away from that one block radius. And I am concerned about the environmental impacts from the remediation, incredibly. I'm also the noise, the fact that there's going to be a 300 plus story tower over my kid's head and cranes.
Then there is the question of how this building will fit into the gestalt of the historic district, and this is up for debate. Although the site is located right in front of these beautiful, low-rise historic buildings, many supporters of the project are saying, well, what is so historic about a parking lot?
The proponents opposing this plan have said, my God, you will ruin the historic district by by building here.
Paul Hovitz is a former vice chair of Community Board 1 and longtime resident of Southbridge Towers. He was active in the community during the district's 2003 downzoning. According to Hovitz, it was a response to Milstein Properties' efforts to build a 23-story structure on the site, which they owned at the time.
The Southbridge Board allocated $20,000 for real estate experts and engineers to develop a plan to downzone.
A proposal put forth by Community Board 1 and approved by the city rezoned the historic district from Zone C6-4, which allows for 40-story buildings, to C6-2A, which limits heights to 120 feet as of right, or 160 feet, with the allowance for an additional 40 feet as a result of the flood zone. According to Hovitz, this change was motivated by a local desire to preserve not only history, but also views. HHC's plans are 164 feet above this limit.
I do not approve it, and that's because I support the current zoning and I support keeping the Seaport Historic District low scale, which makes it so unique.
Many preservationists, both inside and outside the neighborhood, fear that changing the zoning on this site creates a slippery slope.
What Howard Hughes is proposing would set a very dangerous precedent. Not just for the Seaport.
HHC argues that it's worth the trade-off.
In comparison to what we're going to provide to the community and to the Seaport and to New Yorkers and to affordable housing, that I think, in my opinion, it outweighs the benefit outweighs the risk of going to that height.
As with any new development, the lists of pros and cons are extensive and nuanced. This particular proposal is made all the more fraught by its location in a historic district which has been lauded as New York City's first neighborhood and which is also home to survivors of 9/11 and Superstorm Sandy. With so much at stake, this is a project to watch as it awaits City Council approval. What do you think of the plans? Comment below.